What's going on, party people? Welcome back to another episode of the Reactor Corps. This is episode 10. My name is Kyle Springer. I am joined on the other side of this computer screen by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you doing?
Good, Kyle. How are you today?
I am good. You didn't get to see it, but I just took a shot of tequila right before this. So I am feeling great.
Oh, rad.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
As the audience may hear me talk about on the captain's log, I went to a bachelorette party last night, so I don't need any more booze. I'm drinking plain tap water with the delicious add-in of ice.
There you go. I actually have a cup of water here too, but I think my roommates were about to go out and eat or something like that, and I was like, I'm gonna go talk about Pokemon. So
Yeah.
So I do want to say up front, if you are listening to this with your family or with your kids, we are usually not a family-friendly show. I cuss like a sailor. I cannot guarantee that I won't let something slip through. Melissa, on the other hand, never says anything bad whatsoever.
Yeah, the worst word I know is dang.
Yeah, so watch out, kids. She might make you say that word. But but yeah, just wanted to give a heads up. I know we are talking about a children's movie, kind of, and stuff like that, and this is usually geared for younger kids, but we might be cussing and stuff like that down the road. So heads up. I guess spoiler alert for that stuff.
Spoiler alert if you've never heard a curse word before.
Yeah, you gonna learn today. So yeah, this is episode 10 of the Whatnauts Reactor Corps. We are actually going to be talking about Detective Pikachu, which is the new movie that is out in theaters right now. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
We're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna have our general thoughts and stuff first. Then we're gonna get into spoiler territory and do a bit of a recap. And talk about some more spoilery stuff.
Yeah, and this is just because of various scheduling mishaps, we are recording this a little bit later after the movie than we typically do.
It's a week after the movie came out.
Yeah, let's hope our memories are still sharp enough. We might not get all the details right.
I have the Wikipedia pages pulled up.
Oh, handy.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Melissa, how excited were you for this film? What did you think?
I was very excited. Kyle, I don't know if this is something we've really covered. What is your history with Pokemon? What are your Pokemon feelings?
Oh man, one of my earliest memories is getting my original Game Boy, which is, you can see it right behind my head back there. I still have it. It's the one of the the big ones. It was wrapped in G.I. Joe wrapping paper, and I opened it at Fuddruckers because I wanted to get burgers.
God. What a combination!
And so that was one of my first like gaming consoles, and Pokemon Red and Blue came out, and I had both of them. I didn't have them right away, but when they eventually came out, I had them. I have it's not up on my little takeout, but I don't like these bookshelves. I hate them.
They're not shelves. They're just
they came with the house, and I want to do something else with them, but that's another story. But I also have the Pokemon Edition Game Boy Color.
Ooh,
It has Togepi and Pikachu on it. The front is yellow, the back is blue. And I think I had a couple of them. I only kept one, but I have the Burger King Pokeballs. I no longer have the gold Pokemon card that went in there. I think the one I had was Mewtwo, but I don't remember exactly. I made a fool out of myself, and I was like, I need to go get my Pokeball before we start the show. And I went in my room, in a completely different room, and I came back, and I was like, I made a fool of myself, because it was sitting right up here.
Yep.
And right above my finger in the YouTube version of this, there's this like white and red action figure that you can see there. That's actually a Jesus action figure, and he sits right inside my Pokeball.
I think that's appropriate, yeah.
Whenever I need him, yeah.
Like you may or may not have chosen him.
He chose me.
Yeah, and he can choose you too. Like, that's the most powerful Pokemon of them all. I think that's a true bond.
Long story short, I'm a big Pokemon fan. I'm currently playing through Pokemon Eevee, or Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, yes, because my mom got that for me for Christmas. I cannot do words. And yeah, I am playing through that right now on my Nintendo Switch.
I have an interesting history with Pokemon in that I loved the show to death.
Okay.
I never got into the video games or the card games like everybody else did at all. Like, I think my brother had a copy of Pokemon Pinball that I played.
Side story to tell.
Hmm?
I have one more side story to tell. Keep going.
Okay. Well, like my brother had a copy of Pokemon Pinball I played a little bit because I could understand pinball.
Yeah.
But I could not understand the video games. I couldn't understand the cards. Like, this is time I could just spend watching more of the show. I was obsessed with the show. I had like tapes and tapes of it. I would record it like every Saturday morning. I'd come home and watch it every day after school. I loved it. It like really shaped a lot of my narrative sensibilities. Like, Pokemon is a show that made me want to be a writer. I got a degree in creative writing. I wrote a piece about Pokemon.
Interesting.
For, I think maybe my media literacy class or my creative nonfiction class. I forget which one it was.
But
I wrote a paper about Pokemon in college.
What was it about? Was it more like essay style? Like,
yeah,
I'm going to prove to you why Ash is really a representation of X, Y, and Z. Who knows?
It was like a personal reflection essay just about, what Pokemon meant to me. I've got, I have for the listener who can't see, I have my Meowth shirt on. Behind me, I've got my Meowth from Build-A-Bear. I had another Meowth originally, but this Build-A-Bear one, so much better. Kyle, you've never even seen these. Hold on, let me get experimental here.
Okay.
See if I can lift up my webcam. Because, like, right behind...
Going on a journey. Oh, Magikarp. Team Rocket.
Yeah, like, behind my desk, like, behind you, where you are, where you can never see them. I have these Team Rocket,
off with Team Rocket.
Yeah, I have these Team Rocket, like, recruitment posters.
That's awesome.
They are my favorites.
That's awesome. My other side story, I was gonna say.
Yes.
So when I was moving to this house, we had one of my roommate's friends help us this one night. Mm-hmm. We were just getting odds and ends, last couple things, and I had one thing in my room that she picked up, and we brought it over to here, the new house, and then we went back to the old house, I guess, to get some more stuff, and we just ended up talking for a while and drinking and all of this stuff, and somehow we got on the topic of what she took over. I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, but she goes, but yeah, I picked up your toolbox and brought that over, and I didn't stop her right away, but eventually we came back to it, and I was like, yeah, I didn't stop you that first time around, but that's not actually a toolbox. That was just a giant box of all my Pokemon cards. So I still have all of those.
Yeah, I do have some old Pokemon cards that I had just because I liked the way they looked, and I'm like, maybe I'll make a craft project or something out of these.
Anyways, besides showing off our Pokemon credibility here, what did you actually think of this film, of this movie?
I had a really fun time watching this. It's very sweet. It's sweet and wholesome and very charming, and I think it brings together a lot of what Pokemon is and like what Pokemon means and just the bond between a person and the Pokemon, and we go to the city, and I just wanna live in this city. I
Yes,
would love for
I do
this to
too.
I just want there to be a new Pokemon movie like this, like, every year that's just a different part of Rhyme City.
I would say
It's
every
such a
2 years, but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you know, like a Star Wars timeline,
yeah,
sure. It doesn't have to be on a Marvel timeline.
just so we don't
I
get Pokemon fatigue.
yeah, I just wanted to dive right in, like, it felt
Yes.
like, just seeing that up there on the big screen realized in real life, and I went to see a bunch of the animated Pokemon movies in theaters, but this
Mhm.
was, like, so much closer. Oh, it was just a wonderful, fulfilling feeling to be able to watch that. I was very satisfied with this.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing because a lot of children's movies they also have to make entertaining for the adults and stuff like that, right? They have to put in some jokes that no one
Mhm.
else would get. I think it was I went to go see Zootopia uh,
Yeah.
during the year that I lived out in Texas.
Mhm.
And specifically where I lived was kind of way behind in like pop culture and technology and
Uh-huh.
all that stuff by a long shot. And
You had
there
to take
is
your penny farthing bicycle to the movie
there
picture
is no
house,
no joke within the
pay a
first week
nickel.
that I was there. I saw someone on a headset with the full like microphone just
Oh,
walking
wow. Oh,
around like it was
boy.
a Bluetooth thing. I was like, I haven't seen those since like 1996. What the hell, like but um we were watching Zootopia and there's a Breaking Bad reference in there and I laughed, but I was the only one that
Oh,
laughed in that theater. And I was like, come on guys, you don't get it, it's Breaking Bad. But yeah, but this is an interesting one because this is a franchise that has been so popular for so long that
yeah,
it started when I was a kid, that
exactly.
I've grown up with this. But like it's a weird thing where this is a children's movie, but here I am, a 28-year-old man,
Yes.
like just as excited, like, oh my god, I'm gonna get to see a
Exactly.
Pokemon movie.
Yes, yes,
And
I was as excited to see this as I was when I went to see Pokemon the first movie
the
when I
movie,
was
yeah,
9 years old. Yeah.
exactly. So I think it's something special just in that regard, that this
Yeah.
is a thing that is not just a children's movie, but this is
It's
a movie
it's so
for our generation and
it's
younger.
very multi-generational, and I Pokemon is it was a massive phenomenon when it hit, but it has stood the test of time.
Yeah,
Like, it's never gonna be at that level it was, but it's still, like, so consistently loved, and it's proven to be something that can transfer really easily to new generations.
exactly. So I thought this film felt really magical.
It
Um,
did, yes.
One of the things that I want to compare it to a little bit is the first Harry Potter film.
Okay, yeah.
I went to go see that film. I've read all the I actually haven't seen all of the Harry Potter movies because in the long run I thought the Harry Potter movies were not that good.
Mm,
But that first one, I really love that
mhm.
first Harry Potter movie, and there's something so magical about it, and just like experiencing that world for the first time and being like, that's Hogwarts. Wow,
Yeah.
that's the starting hat. Wow, that's
Yes.
Snape. Wow, that's Dumbledore. Oh my goodness. And it like there's something just so magical that I think in my personal opinion those movies kind of lost as they continued. But again, that's a different story. We're not here to
Yeah.
talk about that. But this had that same magical feeling for me. I was like, wow, that's that's what I feel like a Pikachu would look like. That's what I feel like
Yeah.
a Snorlax would do. He's sitting there in
Mhm.
the middle of the street blocking
Snapping.
traffic. So I think it's a really fantastic film. It's a good family film. Um,
Yeah.
I think I think it's paced well enough. It's not necessarily perfect. There is some flaws in the film, but
Mhm.
I think it succeeds at what it sets out to do.
Yeah, and it's simple enough for real little kids, but it's still like perfectly satisfying for
Yep,
an adult who's a big fan of Pokemon as a concept. Like I didn't
exactly.
feel like I was sitting through like a little kids movie just to find like neat Easter eggs that appealed to me. Like it
Yeah.
also worked for me too.
Exactly. I think this is if you don't know anything about Pokemon and you kind of want to get maybe a taste of what it is, I feel like it works as a good
Yes.
first like introduction. I heard other people say it doesn't,
I
but I
think it
disagree with that.
explains
I think it really does.
enough.
Yeah.
I think especially because I think everybody has the general concept of what a Pokemon is. They know it's some sort like if you asked,
There's certain
you know,
people out there who don't know,
yeah,
but still.
just like it's a sort of creature that is like an animal but not an animal. It changes.
Is it?
You gather them and they are your friends and they battle other ones.
Yeah.
Like I think that basic enough concept lots of people know, even if they don't know any of their names or how battling works or training or
Yeah.
evolving or anything like that.
It's good because it takes you kind of out of that and makes its
Mhm.
own story
Yes. Yeah.
out of it, which is why I think it's a good first step. You
Yes.
don't need to
Yes.
know anything about the Elite Eight or the Elite Four or whoever they are.
Yeah, I like
Shows you
that
how
this
much I know about
wasn't.
Pokemon there.
Mhm.
Uh,
It just
but
keeps
yeah,
going up. It
it's a
gets
good
all the
first
way up
step.
to like Elite 64.
Yeah, exactly.
There's so many. Yeah,
So
I
I
like that this was a mystery and not like a training adventure movie, which would end up feeling maybe like a sports movie or something like
yeah,
that. I'd like to see it down the road, but I like that this is where they started.
exactly. I do want to mention that this movie is actually based off of a video game.
Yeah.
By Detective Pikachu is what the video game is called, and according to the Wikipedia, it came out in Japan in February of 2016, and then had a worldwide release of March of 2018.
Mm.
So I remember this coming out on the
Yes.
Switch last year, and just being like, and they're gonna make a movie based off of this thing. This looks so weird. This is not the kind of Pokemon game that
I mean, the
I know
Pokemon
of.
games have been so standard for a while. It seems to me like as an outsider,
They
they've
don't
never
change much.
really broken format or broken genre. I thought this was a neat concept. I didn't pick it up and play it because I'm still not a video game person,
Mhm.
but I thought it was neat. Almost like a Professor Layton story, but it's just a Pikachu
Yeah,
in a hat.
yeah. Um, and from what I understand, the movie follows a very very similar
Oh.
storyline as the video game. It's not just like, hey, we're taking the concept and making our
Hmm.
own story. From what I understand, it's a pretty similar story. But let's do a little bit of housekeeping, and then let's get into our recap with spoilers and all that good
Yes.
stuff. So housekeeping. Last episode of the Reactor Corps, we covered Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, the big one. It took us
Exactly.
3 hours.
3 whole hours to talk about that film. I don't think we will be spending that much time on Detective
No.
Pikachu, but we should still have a lot of fun with
Mhm.
this. We also just covered Brave, the Disney and Pixar film, as
Yeah.
our Mother's Day episode on the review show, which is
Yeah.
another one of the podcasts that we do here at the Whatnauts. You can get more info at thewhatnauts.com. We also just recorded an episode of the Captain's Log where Melissa was in the bridesmaid squad this whole week
Yeah.
and went to
Yeah.
a whole bunch of stuff this week.
Yeah, again, not if you're looking for more potentially family fun content, you can listen to Brave. You might not want to listen to me tell Kyle about a bachelorette party I went to.
And all of the anatomically correct things that they bought.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, so that go check out our website, thewhatnauts.com, for more info on all the other shows we do. You can find us on your podcast services just by searching the Whatnauts, and all of our shows will pop up. That being said, you want to get into spoilers?
Yeah.
Let's do it. There goes our spoiler thing. Okay. Detective Pikachu, the movie. This is directed by Rob Letterman, based on a screenplay by Dan Hernandez, Benji Samit, Rob Letterman, and Derek Connolly. But I want to give a shout out to Nicole Perlman, who also worked on the story. Melissa, you might know Nicole Perlman as the writer of Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah.
Oh, that is
she also helped to work
one
on
of my favorite films.
The story too, or I guess is one of the co-writers along with James Gunn for Guardians of the Galaxy.
I can see that. I think Guardians is a movie with a lot of wit and a lot of heart to it.
Yes,
I can see there's a through line of heart between these two films.
Exactly, and also notably from the director's line of work, he did Shark Tale back in 2004 and did Gulliver's Travels starring Jack Black in 2010. I think I saw Shark Tale once. That was it. Never saw Gulliver's Travels. And he did some other stuff. Oh, I think he did the Goosebumps.
Oh, that's where I know his name from. Yeah, the Goosebumps movie, pretty fun time.
I didn't see that one. Oh, you know what?
Check it out. Check it out for a spooky fun time.
He was also the propeller head in the Los Angeles pre-production for Shrek.
Huh.
I don't know exactly what that means, but he did that. Anyways, we have a Patreon exclusive episode of Shrek Retold.
Yes.
For the $3 tier, patreon.com/the Whatnauts.
not to be like
check it out. Yeah.
Big old plug machines, but just since Shrek came up, like why not mention that?
I saw it and I was like, let me say that and then plug our thing.
Pay us for Shrek content.
Yeah, so this movie opens up with a science experiment.
Yeah.
I was not expecting this. It like the first thing we see is basically Mewtwo.
Yes, a lot like how he appeared in Pokemon the first movie.
Yeah. I mean that is his origin story, that he is not a natural Pokemon. He is man-made based off some old DNA and stuff like that. But I wasn't expecting them to open the film with that. That was kind of a surprise to me, because the seeing him in the trailer was, I felt like kind of the tease for maybe something that would come later on in the film, or like, ooh, how is Mewtwo involved? We'll see how that go.
I didn't expect him to be Thing 1.
And yeah, bam, Thing 1. Mewtwo is getting experimented on, and he busts loose. Because busting makes him feel good. And he breaks out of this laboratory that is experimenting on him, and it appears that he uses one of his psi wave beam things. I don't know exactly what move he's using there, to destroy this car, which seems to be on the run from the same facility. Mewtwo explodes it. It flips off of a bridge and ends in fiery destruction.
Yes.
And that is kind of the opening scene.
Yeah, that's the cold open. And from there, we got to our protagonist we recognize from all the trailers. This is Tim Goodman. And he does not have a Pokemon. And his friend is trying to take him out, trying to encourage him to capture a Pokemon. And he's like, look, it's a Cubone. Cubone is sad. You're sad. Tim,
Cubone is lonely. You're lonely.
So he plays along. He begrudgingly tries to capture a Cubone. It does not work.
I saw this on Mother's Day. And if you know anything about Cubone, that's a little awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah, which they make reference of that too, but the skull on
Where's his
Cubone is
mom's
the skull
skull?
of his mother. So I was just like, oh, okay. Happy
All
Mother's
right.
Day, everyone.
Pokemon Pokedex entries are wild. Like a lot of them are like very normal, like Bulbasaur, grass type Pokemon, loves the sunshine, and then other ones are like really dark.
Yeah, he has a really dark story. That's for sure. But yeah, it goes wrong. It's a very endearing introduction
Yeah, it's
to
sweet. It's
that
fun.
character. It's funny. He basically gets his ass kicked by his first starter Pokemon, which ends up not being his first. And the two end up kind of going their separate ways because Tim Goodman gets a call that his father has passed away. He was in an accident. And so Tim is oddly upset. It seems like he's kind of bothered to find out this information. He's obviously sad, but still just like, really? Why now? You know.
He's frustrated at this news.
Exactly.
And he's been living in this small town. It's this beautiful pastoral scene, actually, just seeing all of these Pokemon just in these
Yeah,
fields and in these woods. So he's like, well, time to leave my small town home behind, go to the big city where dad lived, and close out his affairs.
exactly. So he travels to Rhyme City, where it's basically just this like Blade Runner-esque city. Everything is neon and futuristic. And I
Blade
loved
Runner
it. I was like,
not in
yeah.
that it's like a dystopia where there's like androids around and you don't know who's a person and who's not. It is Blade Runner, and that is just like a big shiny neon metropolis.
And everything is super like close together and compact and stuff like that. It's nice. So one of the things that I didn't expect from this film is how much of the like detective noir stereotypes and stuff they borrowed. Like
I think they're all fun.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was fantastic. But I wasn't expecting for them to lean that hard into it, to be like, so there I was, and you know, like all of the, like just I've been waiting for it. So there's a scene shortly after Tim gets to Rhyme City where he goes to his father's apartment building and he's opening up the mailbox to see.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where they have like all the mailboxes right there when you walk in the building and you have a key.
Yeah.
And there's this reporter that stops him. He's like, I've been waiting for someone to open that mailbox. And it's just this very neo-noir
It is.
scene where the camera shifts to her, but she's backlit, so you can't really see her. And it's this like so there's the detective, there's the dame as she's walking down the stairs, you know. And it's just like I loved it. I'm just like, yes, they are leading hard into
the noir stuff has always played well when done for kids, I think. Like think about how many cartoons you saw as a kid that spoofed noir stuff.
Yeah.
And you didn't get it, but you always liked it. It was just fun that it was like different.
Yeah.
It always plays.
I was expecting, I guess, a little bit more of it to be more of an adventure, since it was a children's movie, and I did adventure in air quotes there for you podcast listeners. But yeah, that's not really what we got. I mean, it is. They do go on a bit of an adventure, so to speak. But yeah, it is, as the name would imply, is a detective story, and I'm super happy that they actually leaned into all of the detective tropes and stuff like that. But yeah, so Tim gets to Rhyme City. He ends up meeting with the police department there.
Yeah, because his dad worked as a detective, so he goes and talks to his dad's boss, who's, I guess, the in-city next of kin, for lack of, anybody else.
Emergency contact,
yeah, for
so
lack
to
of
speak.
having any other family that lives with him. He's like, just see my boss.
Yeah, see my dad's boss, because he's the only one I know he would talk to.
And it's Ken
But yeah.
Watanabe, who I'm always very happy to see in things.
Yeah, I know I've seen him in
He's
more
in
stuff, but
he
I
does a
don't know
lot of
anything off
stuff.
the top
I
of my
know
head.
him from Inception. I think
Okay,
Inception was the first thing I ever saw him in,
cool.
and I'm like,
I've
"More
seen
of
that.
this
Yeah.
guy. He's cool."
Yeah. Sweet. Um yeah, I liked him in this film. I want more of him. I
Yeah.
think he was good. Um but we don't get to see him much. We see him in that scene and
We
then
see him
like
enough. Yeah.
a scene at the end, basically.
Mhm.
But yeah, so Jim doesn't really find much help there with the cops.
Mhm.
And so he just kind of goes on his own to go to his dad's apartment. And that is where we meet the reporter. And I don't remember her name off the top of my
Lucy.
head. Lucy, is that
Yeah.
it? Yes, Lucy
Yes.
Stevens.
And then
She's
she has a Psyduck.
an intern at CNN, and her Pokemon is a Psyduck.
It's not CNN, but it is some sort of Pokemon World News Network sort of deal. And she's the
Well, according to
scrappy, like,
Wikipedia, she is an
it's this
intern at CNN and a fluff columnist who wants to be a reporter and is suspicious of Harry Goodman's death. So, according to Wikipedia,
she's not, she says like
such a
CMN or
reliable source.
something like that.
It might
It's
be
not,
something else.
they
Yeah,
would not also call it CNN.
I don't know. I don't remember who she actually worked for there. But yeah, she's a reporter, and she has a good joke that basically works all day making listicles.
Yeah. She's looking for the big case that will help people take her more seriously. And her
Mhm.
Pokemon is a Psyduck, which has always been one of my favorites. So I loved that like our secondary Pokemon lead in this story was a Psyduck.
There you go.
Oh, I mentioned this to you a while ago, but I want this in this episode. So
Hmm.
when you go see this movie in the theater, if you went to see it early enough before they ran out, you got Pokemon cards.
Not
You
me, because
you
I didn't
didn't
go
get them.
early enough, I guess.
You saw it on a Sunday and I saw it on a Saturday, so I got the cards. And it's like a really cute, like holographic Detective Pikachu, and it's
Hmm.
not traditional Pokemon cards. It's like stills from the movie. I
Yeah,
mean, they look the same as
it's
cards, just the
special ones.
illustrations are different. Yeah. So I've got a Pikachu and I've got a Psyduck. And I'm standing in line at the theater ahead of this like excitable like 7-year-old boy who's trying to talk to me about like what cards he got because it seems like he'd already seen this movie. This might have been his second time going to see it already.
Okay, once
And
with
he's
the
like,
mom, once with the dad.
yeah. And he's like, I forget what the big name Pokemon were. He's like, I got a Lucario and I
Yep.
got a Greninja. And I'm like,
There
oh,
you go.
cool. I got a Psyduck. And he's like, oh, well, Psyduck, he's, yeah. Psyduck is, and I could tell this kid was not impressed by the Psyduck because the Psyduck isn't powerful, but he was
He was
trying to be
searching.
polite and not tell me, oh, a Psyduck, that's so lame.
That's
Just this
amazing.
very like polite 7-year-old trying to step around. Oh, you got a loser Pokemon. I'm
Oh
like, no, I
man, you
like
got
Psyduck
terrible
because
cards.
he's cute.
That's funny. Um, yeah. So I ended up really liking her character. I liked Psyduck as well. Great comic relief,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. I'm sure we'll get more into her character down the road here. But yeah, she's suspicious of Tim's father's death. Tim's father's name is Harry. She thinks there's a story there.
Yeah.
But no one will believe her since she hasn't really proven herself as an actual journalist yet. So Tim ends up going into his father's apartment, kind of reliving some memories there. We kind of learn a little bit more about Tim and his family and what happened.
Yeah, and I think about here is when we start to get flashbacks.
Yes.
And so Harry had a mom and a dad, and they lived, I think, out in that little sort of pastoral country town where we saw him at the beginning of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then his mother got sick, and his mother died.
Mm-hmm.
And his dad, and his dad, like, was kind of stricken with grief and, like, threw himself into his work, and also, like, I imagine needed to really throw himself into his work for financial reasons, probably. He might be the only breadwinner left.
Family.
So he goes to the big city. He's got this job as a detective, And he says, "Harry, now that I am all settled here, come live with me."
Because
And Harry,
Tim stayed behind to live with his
oh right, yeah,
grandmother.
yeah,
Hold
Tim,
on
Tim, Tim.
just a sec. Monitor on. Okay,
Yeah,
GarageBand is still recording. Yes.
oh,
Um,
GarageBand.
it, I must have spiked my mic or
Oh,
something there. But yes, he went to go live with his grandma, or stayed behind to live with
yeah.
his grandmother.
'Cause that
Uh,
was what was familiar to him. He didn't want all this change. So he's like, I will just stay here with grandma in the house I grew up in,
yep.
probably in the town I grew up in. I don't like, I feel like dad kind of ran off to this scary new big city and I don't want to go. And
Yeah.
he hasn't seen his dad since then.
Yeah, and he was young enough where I'm sure memories are a little mixed up. He doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily understand everything that's happening. So he
Yeah.
sees his father leave and then not really come back. And uh, he kind of grows to resent his
Yeah.
father, but he doesn't necessarily. I feel like he doesn't necessarily understand exactly. It is just that the whole thing of like, I was young, I don't understand. I saw you leave, and that's all.
Yeah, and he's got kind of a stubborn streak in him. Like when he's
Yep.
with his friend at the beginning of the movie, his friend saying like, "Yeah, everybody's kind of picked up and left town for, better jobs, new cities, things like that. Like, Tim, how long are you going to stay in town?" Tim's like, "Pff, why leave? I mean, I work at the insurance office.
He has a good
I'm
job.
I'm all set up here. Why ever change anything?"
I have a life
Yeah.
in insurance. um,
And
yeah,
that's another thing that I was kind of surprised by because watching the trailers, I didn't have a good grasp on how old our protagonist was.
yeah,
And I was surprised to see like, oh, he is a young adult, like a college age kid with a job, like
yeah.
a
If
real
not out
desk
of
job.
college, just
Yeah, I think
barely.
we
Yeah,
see that his dad had before he was in that accident written him like a happy 21st birthday card and like hadn't
yeah.
mailed it yet, so it's sitting there on the counter when Tim
His
comes into his apartment.
early
Like,
20s, I
wow,
would think.
that's I'm surprised. That's older than I thought our hero might be, but I think it's a good age for him to be at, especially with us being 28 years old and super
Yeah,
into Pokemon. I think it's like a
yeah,
good median age to hit both like, little kids be aspiring to be an adult and like
exactly.
adults being like, "Oh, remember when I was in college? Remember when I was just fresh out and I had my first job?"
Exactly.
It's a good median age to be at, and I like that he was 21 instead of being like 16 or something.
Yeah, yeah. I think that helps out a lot, especially for
Mhm.
acting chops.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, he's
um,
got some chops. He's aged into his chops well in a way that perhaps a teenager might not have yet.
exactly. Uh, so yeah, so that's when we learn more about Tim. But then he hears a noise, and he's like, "What the hell is that noise?" Um, or actually, I guess is it? Does he do the
Yep, yep.
purple gas
Okay.
stuff first?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's just looking through his dad's stuff and he finds this file folder full of details on some case he was working on. And there's a little vial of this purple liquid and he opens it up, which I don't know why you would just open it up without reading anything, Tim. Come on. So he opens it
Yeah,
up and like these fumes come out and they go out the
thick purple
window and he's
fume.
like, "Oh, gross, weird. Plug it back up." But the fumes go out the window and they affect these APOM that are like climbing up and down the fire
Mm-hmm.
escape outside and you see them start to go a little
Red eyes,
wild.
and they're like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, and so we cut away from that, and then shortly after that is when he hears this noise in the house. He's like, "What is that? Who's there?"
Mhm.
And he eventually comes across Detective Pikachu.
Yeah. With his
Yeah,
little hat
look at
and his
his little
claw
hat,
face.
his little Sherlock hat. I
Mhm.
don't even.
A
It's
deer
like a.
stalker.
There you go. Sure thing. That doesn't sound good at all. I'll say a Sherlock hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the like double-sided detective hat,
Mhm.
which is it's not a detective hat, but we all know it
Oh,
from
yeah.
Sherlock.
Nobody
Uh,
actually wears it to go hunt deer anymore.
yeah, you never know. Uh, But
Unless
yeah,
that tier is also a criminal.
so they do that thing where it's like, hey Pokemon, or hey Pokemon, hey
Detective Pokemon.
it's like, hey Pikachu, what's that you have? A knife? No. and and yeah, there's like, it's this scary thing of like, oh my god, what are you? Who are you? Why can I understand you? And then the infected Apom jump in the window, and they're no one knows what is happening. Pikachu has a knife, and he's like, I don't even know what this will do, but I have one. And they kind of start this chase scene, and yeah, things kind of go bad.
They chase the Apom up onto the roof.
Or
I
they get
think
chased by the
yeah,
Apom
yeah, and I think Tim
in
gets
this
stuck. He has
crazed
to take
state.
his pants off to escape the Apom. Classic, all ages fun.
Slapstick fun, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he finally makes it out to, I guess, one of the main streets. It looks like a
Yeah,
market
this
in
really
Star
cool little street full of like just little
Wars.
stalls.
Yeah.
Just like little like hibachis
Mm-hmm.
and like food stands and things like that.
He
It's
looks
and
homeless by the time he
oh
does.
yeah,
He's
he's
not
a
wearing
dank
pants. He's
mess.
all dirty. And he's
And
like,
he's with this
the Apom.
Pikachu.
Oh my god, they're coming everywhere. They're gonna get you. Run away, everyone now. And by the time the Apom get there, all the stuff has
Yeah, they're
worn
all
off.
innocent.
And
They're
so
just
yeah,
cuties again.
exactly. So everyone's just like, what is this weirdo doing? Like, okay, loser.
Mhm.
And he kind of goes off eventually with Detective Pikachu, right? How does that work? Does he go
Well,
off
he's with
with?
his. Well, he's baffled by the fact that he can hear Pikachu talk because Pokemon aren't
Right,
supposed to do that.
right.
And he's walking up and down the food stalls like, "You, ma'am, can you hear this Pikachu talk?" And she's like,
Well, of course,
"No, but
Pika.
he sure is cute." So there's some special connection that bonds
Well,
only the two of them.
they finally say. I think he finally figures out that the Pikachu was his father's Pokemon.
Yeah, because he's got his dad's name in the hat.
Yeah, yeah. So once they kind of figure that out, they go to a bar to get coffee.
Yeah.
That's one of the like
Yeah, very noir.
classic cartoon stuff, though, where it's like, we're gonna go to a bar and get milk. Or, like, we're gonna go to a
Get a
bar and
smoothie
get
here.
coffee. Yeah, which I guess coffee is still more of an adult thing, but yeah. So they go to that and they start talking and comparing notes and stuff like that. And yeah, they kind of come to the conclusion that, hey, something's up here. We need to investigate.
And the substance, at some point, the substance in the vial, that purple stuff, is codenamed R.
Yes.
And it's supposed to, as we saw with the Apom, you release it and it kind of makes Pokemon go wild. And I have to
Exactly.
say, I was really, really hoping for some Team Rocket
I'm sure
interaction.
we'll get something down the road.
Like, I figure out, I guess R stands for rage, probably, but you're so close, and we didn't get there.
And
I show up to the
I
theater in my
have
Team
a
Rocket
feeling
shirt, all ready.
I have a feeling that is an Easter egg, and it was so prominent. Hey, this is R. Wink, wink,
R.
nudge, for whether it's a sequel, or they have
Yes.
mentioned that they are wanting this to be kind of the Iron Man 1, so to speak, of
I'm
the
good with
like
that.
Pokemon
Yes.
cinematic universe, which is,
Yes.
we mentioned it on our Avengers Endgame episode, but no one else for the past 11 years has been able to successfully create a cinematic universe like Marvel has. There's been a
Yeah.
number of attempts. There's some that you could
I think
argue
there's
that I
some
can
just
see.
just consistent series, like a Fast and the Furious or a Mission
Yeah.
Impossible. Maybe there are franchises that are successful, but nothing as like widespread
Yes,
as
as the
Marvel
MCU.
is.
And nothing that I feel like has had it like maybe especially in terms of like Fast and the Furious or something,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't necessarily start out like that or mean to start out like that. They just kind of
Yeah.
eventually caught on and hobbled things together. This, I think, sets a good stage for other movies out there. Yes, we know that battling exists out in the Pokemon world. We know that there are different regions and there are different Pokemon in these different regions and all of this stuff. Like, they
Mm-hmm.
set all of that stuff up that we can totally have a Pokemon Stadium movie where it
Yes.
is more of the Rocky, like, coming of age. I'm gonna be the best that no one ever
Yeah.
was, you know, and he's gonna
I would
beat
like to
the.
see
Yeah,
a Pokemon
I would
sports
love that.
movie. Like,
Exactly.
I think this was a great opening choice, but again, like the way the MCU has had, like,
This
okay, we've
is
got our space opera, we've got our, our heist
film, yeah.
adventure action movie. I would love to see Pokemon. I'd love to
I
see, like,
think so. I was just gonna say I feel like this movie really sets the stage as a good narrative start of the film. That we
yeah.
don't have to be in Rhyme City for the next one. We can go somewhere else and figure out
Mhm.
a mystery somewhere else,
I
right?
would, yeah, I think you could take this in a lot of
And
different
that
settings
would
with a lot of
introduce us
different
to,
genres.
yeah,
I was talking with my friend about like other story, like this is your classic like noir detective missing persons case. I would love to see like a romantic comedy in the Pokemon universe. Like
sure.
instead of must love dogs, it's must love Growlithe.
Oh
I
goodness.
just want I want like a fun, spooky one, like a
Yeah,
Goosebumps or a Hocus Pocus or something like that. I want
yeah,
everything
yeah,
out of Pokemon now.
yeah. Exactly. Um, yeah. So they have made up their minds to investigate this
Mhm.
story. From here on out, I don't feel like the movie is really plot heavy. It is because we figure out the mystery, but it's a fairly simple mystery and it's a fairly simple
Yeah.
thing of what was
Okay.
happening. I kind of had an idea. It's one of those things of like, since I'm an adult and I can like I can kind of put some of these things together. I knew what was gonna happen. I
I
knew what
I
was
was
coming at the end. I did not see the twist that it was. Well, I guess we'll talk about that in a sec. But I did not see one of the twists. I did see the one about Pikachu. I will mention that though.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I No, well, here. There's a part of the story we have not covered yet. So let's talk
Sure,
about that father-son team.
sure.
It's Bill Nighy and small Bill Nighy. I don't remember their names a week later. What are their names?
Let's see. She works for blah blah blah. I
I don't
don't.
think that's it, Kyle.
Well, you know what? She works for CNN. Okay, get over it. Um,
What's that guy's name?
you know what? Why is it so hard to find these guys' names?
He's the main
Every,
villain of the movie. What's his name?
everyone is yelling at us right now, but like, oh my god. Okay, so Bill Nighy plays
See?
Howard Clifford.
Howard
And
Clifford.
Chris
Yes.
Gear, I believe is how you say his last name, plays a Roger
Okay. Okay.
Clifford, his son.
Okay. So Howard Clifford was a man who found that he had a
He
degenerative
built this
disease.
city. He built this
so
city on
so he built
Pokemon.
exactly. He did that. He found that Pokemon were good for him. They were good for his heart and soul. They made him feel better. He's like, "Why isn't everybody like hanging around Pokemon all the time?
Yeah.
I'm going to build a city." And I don't know like what was the city like before? He didn't construct that thing whole cloth over the last like 20, 30 years, right? I don't know.
Maybe he did.
Who knows? Or he just fostered this environment in the city where we live together with our Pokemon. No Pokeballs, we don't do battles. They are our friends, coworkers, roommates,
Yes,
partners.
exactly.
hmm And it seems like also a world where you get a Pokemon, like that's your partner Pokemon, as opposed to what we know from the games, where it's like you collect them all and you've got a roster and you've
I
got your
mean,
favorites and
the
you've got your
show also
walking
kind of
buddy.
had like stuff like that, and I guess Pokemon Yellow also had the like,
Mhm.
hey, your Pikachu follows behind you, you know?
Yeah, but here it's like you don't have you really don't have several. You got one. That's your buddy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's your buddy.
The Pokemon have jobs.
Just a
I
little
loved
buddy.
seeing the Squirtle firefighters just like in the
Yeah,
show.
they were so cute. I
Oh,
loved it.
I I was very happy with the amount of like little nods like that to the show specifically.
Yeah.
Like, as again previously stated, I don't know the video game stuff. I don't know the card game stuff. If you reference specifically a thing from one anime episode, that I know.
Bye bye, Butterfree.
Bye bye.
um, yeah. So they've kind of shaped the city, and they have like a big corporation, I guess, to do so. Um, and I guess Howard is older, so he's kind of getting up there in age. His son is kind of slowly taking over things.
Yeah, and they don't get along. The son like doesn't like that, and Howard is he's a seemingly a kind, humble man. There's lots of press, praising him. It seems
Mhm.
decently well earned. He does seem as nice as they
He's
tell
done
us he
great
is.
things for the
Yeah,
city.
yeah. But the son is so annoyed about all of this, and everybody's talking about dad and how great of a guy dad is, and he's just got this big chip on his shoulder about everything.
Yeah.
So the movie kind of sets you up to think like the son is going to stab the father in the back, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Um. So how does this mystery unfold? So I think start with searching for the thread on the purple
Oh,
gas.
we go to that underground fighting ring.
Yes, which is
Th-
where they track it down to. Um, I guess Pikachu knew of an informant of Harry,
Oh,
which
yes,
happened to
I
be
think we
Mr.
go to the
Mime.
Mr. Mime first. I loved the Mr.
Mr.
Mime
Mime was
stuff.
fantastic. Yeah, that whole scene
God,
was
I
great.
I like that this movie was like not afraid to go like I'm going to pretend set Mr. Mime on fire.
It's like, what are you doing? And like he Tim starts like obviously pouring
Mhm.
this imaginary liquid on him, and Detective Pikachu is he's trying to play charades, but he's obviously getting it wrong. So
Yeah.
then Mr. Mime is helping him to understand.
Yeah.
He's like, dude, he's pouring gasoline on me, except he's not actually saying that.
I loved the sound design in this scene because Mr. Mime is like miming, like, oh, he's like pouring a little cup of tea and he's got the teacup in the
But we
saucer.
still get all the
You
sound
don't,
effects.
yeah, yeah, everything's invisible, but the sound effect of like the
Yeah,
clinking porcelain is still there. It's really
it's great.
cool. Another like meta joke I liked is that the Mr. Mime acts like he's running away from the scene and he gets on like this was a scene that was in all the trailers. Like he gets on the invisible motorcycle and he
Mhm.
falls and he crashes and Pikachu's like, oh, look at him go down. Should have worn a helmet. Ryan Reynolds is a biker in real life.
Uh-huh.
And there's this video of like talking about how he's a biker and it's all of these different bikers from all walks of life, not just like the grizzled man with the mustache. Like anybody can ride a motorcycle. All of these different people are talking to you in this video saying like, when you see me on the road, think about it. I could be Ryan Reynolds. Watch out for me. Make sure I am safe. Give me plenty of room. I'm Ryan Reynolds. And it's all these different bikers looking at the camera saying, I'm Ryan Reynolds.
That's funny.
And my parents are bikers and they showed this to me. And I think it's really funny and really sweet. And I love that in a completely different role for him, he's still like, I'd like to take just one half of a second to talk about motorcycle safety. I like that that's a theme in his roles. I really appreciate that
That's
as the
fantastic.
child of bikers.
That's fantastic. So yeah, they learn from Mr. Mime where this purple liquid gas stuff is coming from. It takes them to this underground fight club. Pokemon battles are not supposed to be happening in the
Yeah.
city, so this is all an illegal thing. and they go there. The Pikachu gets recognized by the guy like doing all the fights and stuff like that. So they challenge Pikachu to another battle. It turns out he's been there and fought before and fought Charizard and
destroyed that Charizard. Yeah.
Yeah, he did some work on that Charizard. So they do a bit of a rematch, but they give Charizard the purple gas, so he goes crazy, and things go bad. Justice Smith's character Tim jumps in the ring too. He starts stomping on Charizard's tail to put his fire out, which is
Hold on. We've been talking about this character for so long, and I like that now in the middle you throw in, oh, right, we didn't mention who played him. Justice Smith's Tim
you know what?
This.
Okay.
It's funny. You're like, oh, wait, let's just throw it in now.
I like him. I think he's a good actor.
It is a great performance. He's the straight man to Pikachu.
Yeah. He's
so good at being like stoic and stubborn and begrudging about things. He is really entertaining to watch. Yeah. I did love him.
Which with also still being young and youthful enough that you can
like
connect.
Enthusiastic and
anyways. You
No, I was just gonna say also it's around this time where Tim and Pikachu really come to an understanding and befriend each other. Yes. I like that the movie didn't stretch out that like bickering for too long.
Yeah.
Like it really does not take far into their adventure for them to be like, okay, we do see eye to eye about things. Yes. That's typically something saved for like the 11th hour. Like, you know what? You're not so bad after all. Let's go in a battle together, partner.
Let's solve another crime.
It was moved way earlier in this movie, which I think is really effective.
Yeah,
you might even say it's super effective.
Okay, Melissa, you are done. It is just me on this podcast now.
Kyle,
from now
can
on,
I tell you about shorts and that they are easy and fun to wear?
What?
That's another like bit of I don't know much about the games, but I know like these little bits of game dialogue. It's super effective. There's the kid with the shorts who's like, have I told you about shorts? Comfy, easy to wear. And then there's the kid who's like, my Rattata is in the top percentage of all Rattatas.
Well, excuse you.
But I know about the games.
Yeah, no, it's good that they finally team up. I think they had to establish that, hey, they are going to be partners if they need to solve this. But yeah, so the fight club thing goes bad. A bunch of this gas starts getting out, but they do end up learning that the gas is made by the same company that, what was his name again?
The Clifford.
Howard Clifford. Yeah. Of Clifford Enterprises. They are the manufacturers of this chemical, this drug, whatever it might be. Yeah. And so that's basically step 2 in the mystery. There's secondly, they go back, or I guess not back, but they go confront them to be like, hey, what's up?
Yeah, and Clifford says, some stuff. Basically, he's like,
great recap.
What happens when they go to Clifford's office real quick? Because I know it's something like, oh, well, I was kind of aware of this, but to throw everything off the trail, like he's very innocent about it.
So quick shout out, before they actually go to Clifford, they go to visit the reporter who they know as they're in on the stuff. So I'll mention that.
Right, that comes first. I would stop and talk about that because I think that scene is my favorite joke in the whole movie, where Lucy's like, okay, I'll take you guys to my office. And it's this little broom closet, like filled with supplies and like one little desk with a computer. That's her office. And Pikachu says, this isn't an office. This is a coffin filled with pencils.
Yeah.
It's a really funny line.
It's great. And yeah, there's a little bit of sexual tension starting to happen there. Pikachu's like, hey, playa, you guys should go get some coffee after this, you know. But that leads them to basically being like, hey, we need to confront the Howard Corporation. Is that what? Yes.
The Howard Corporation.
Clifford Enterprises. It's a terrible name.
You know, that's almost what Howard Stark called Stark Industries. Like, why don't I just call it the Howard Corporation?
The Howard Corporation. It's a terrible name for a company, though. Clifford Enterprises.
The last 2 movies we have covered on this podcast involve a, like, bad engineering dad named Howard.
Yeah.
That's so specific.
Howard. They absolutely.
You know, you're a comic book character. Your parents can have one of 3 names.
I never saw Aquaman, but they absolutely 100% should have put the names of their dads in there, because Batman and their dad's names are both Thomas.
The King of the Sea is named Thomas?
His name is Arthur, but his father's name was Thomas
Thomas
Curry.
King of the Sea.
Thomas Curry. Was he the regular
he like a sailor
human?
And his mom's a mermaid? I don't know anything about Aquaman.
That kind of, it was something along those lines. But yes, his Aquaman's father's name, he is a human, is Thomas, and Batman's dad's name is Thomas. So they could have had a Thomas moment, but they don't. Yes, so back to Detective Pikachu. They go confront Clifford. Is that his name?
Yes. Howard Clifford.
God damn it.
Big office with his big gold Pokemon God statues. Those were neat.
He looked like
he's got a lot of cool
sitting
Pokemon
up there with all of his stuff.
Yeah, he's got cool Pokemon artifacts, and he's got his assistant. Okay, so the bit where we first are introduced to Howard, and it's like him and his son trying to film a promo for this big like parade that the city is throwing. Howard's as he's growing older and his body is degenerating, I think is the word. He's in a wheelchair, and to help push him around, there's like a Ditto roll, just sort of flopping around set, just like how there's Pokemon everywhere. Then the Ditto suddenly morphs into a full-grown real human man and just helps wheel the wheelchair away. And I was so startled, I yelped in the middle of the theater. It's like, the Ditto's a man!
The Ditto's a man! That's great.
Which I could have seen coming, but it's such a fast transition, and it's not even like the focus of the shot. It's just sort of off to the side, just like whoop.
It's a little bit in the background, but it is very much something you notice, and it ends up very much being
plot relevant.
A clue. Yeah,
because Howard has this other assistant who is this mysterious woman who, she's wearing pink gloves and she's pink hair dye, and she has sunglasses that cover up her eyes.
Exactly. Yeah, so he confronts Howard. I got his name
Howard.
Right. I have to keep looking back at the Wikipedia page here. And that's when Howard busts out this hologram thing that recreates the accident. And he basically shows him the accident in this like 3D holographic model, so they can see what happened. And
different angle.
Yeah, they can see all different angles and stuff like that. And he basically says, we can show you anything we want to show you with this hologram. And one of the things they notice is that both the car and the Mewtwo that destroyed the car setting off this accident came from these laboratories. And so obviously Tim is like, well, I'm gonna go check out this laboratory. So he enlists the help of famed CNN listicle reporter Lucy and her Psyduck.
They take her tiny little car.
Yes. And they go to check out this laboratory. And they get there and they break in, because she just happens to have a pair of wire
I love
cutters.
that she's like, "Yeah,
And
I'll just go ahead and cut the fence open." Like, Lucy, somebody's gonna be watching you.
she does it right in front of the cameras. Like,
God.
yeah, it's like, ah, God, like I like how bold and adventurous you are, but
Yeah.
oh my goodness, you just are not thinking.
Nah.
Yeah, so they break into this lab and they see that Pokemon are being experimented on in this lab.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they eventually start finding other holograms to recreate what was happening there and stuff like that. And Tim finds out that he thinks his father was the one that captured Mewtwo and put him in there.
Yes. Oh, right. Yes. This is because so we see Mewtwo in the tank. This at the very beginning of the movie. This is not Mewtwo's creation. Mewtwo like was created, broke out, and has just been recaptured and has been put
Exactly.
back into the tank for science reasons. So Mewtwo's origin story is exactly the same as it was in the anime because they mentioned like, well, about 20 years ago, Mewtwo was created and then he escaped, which is
Yep.
everything that you see in the show in Pokemon the first movie. I
Exactly.
thought that was really neat.
Yeah, it's a good callback. It's a good pseudo content. Or they're respecting canon,
Yeah, and I like that it leaves it open to where like, well,
if you
maybe
can
somebody
even
from the
call
show
it. Yeah, could
could
show up.
show up.
Ash could be
Yeah.
there, but older. He might be around the same age as
Huh.
this guy. You know, because
All I
Ash
want
was
is
like, I don't know,
no,
like 7 years.
forget
He was
Ash. What
super
are
young.
Ash's main Pokemon, his main personality traits? I want Jesse and James
Yeah,
so much.
yeah,
I
they
want
could
that to
be in
just
there
be the
too.
next movie is like exclusively Team Rocket Adventures.
Um, yeah. So that's kind of once he sees that little bit of his father
Mhm.
seemingly turning in Mewtwo to be experimented
Yeah.
on, they kind of have this rough patch where they don't really want to be investigating this thing anymore.
Yeah.
They break up with Pikachu, um, but that's also when things start really coming together.
Yeah.
The son of Howardson,
Roger.
Roger Howardson. No, um, uh, he he sees them on the security cameras, so he unleashes the Greninja that have been locked up in this lab. They've been experimented on, so they are starting to attack. They chase them out of the complex, only to learn that the complex is not it's not a mountain that they're on. It's not a landmass they're on. It is a giant Torterra, I believe is what it was.
Torterra. It's like
It
this
was.
big
It's a
turtle
turtle,
Pokemon that has grass,
like a
grass type stuff.
terrarium on its back,
Yeah,
but
on its
it's earth,
back.
it's mountains, and
It's
it's
so cool.
trees, and it's stuff like
So
that.
the entire mountain range, everything breaks up, and these huge Torterra heads come out of the ground. Everything they've been traveling on, walking on, everything the building is built on is just on the backs of these mammoth Pokemon. That was
Exactly.
really cool.
In their escape, however, Pikachu is badly injured.
Yeah.
And then we get the really, really cute scene. I don't want to gloss over that scene, but I know we kind of don't want to spend too long. We've already been recording for like an hour and 20 minutes.
This movie isn't that long.
It's not that long at all. It's an hour and 4 minutes. We've already been talking a lot longer than this stuff. But there's a really great emotional scene there between between Tim and this Bulbasaur in
Yeah.
because Pikachu is almost unconscious, and I would say the scene is between Pikachu and Tim, but because the Pikachu is unconscious, he's kind of just being like, "Hey, Bulbasaur, I know you don't understand my words, but I know you can understand what I'm feeling right now. I
Yeah.
need to help I need to help my Pikachu, you know."
Can I stop and ask you, how disappointed were you that the Bulbasaur just sort of cooed and never said its name?
Bulbasaur, Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
I
That's
yeah,
one thing I think this movie I don't know if it was missing because it's not like, well, the narrative feels incomplete
I feel
without this,
like
but like from my point of view, I really wanted to hear more of the Pokemon saying their names in voices that sounded a
I
lot like what I heard as a kid, even if it's not the
I
same.
feel like that would have been maybe I feel like that would have taken me out of like
Really?
yeah, so there it's the first time I'm seeing them in live action in real life. They're right there. This is life. You know, I feel like having them only say their name might be a little too cartoony. I maybe what they could have done is a mix of they do have
Yeah.
these more animalistic sounds,
Yeah.
but the only words that they are able to say are
Yes.
their species name, I guess, for
Yeah,
lack of a better
like I
term. So
don't
every
mind
once in a
like
while, you might hear him say "Boba,
yeah,
Bulbasaur,"
like
you
I
know?
don't mind like the noises. I was just like kind of disappointed it
Yeah,
was all the noises and we don't get any name based stuff. Like I just wanted that like sound memory. Like
exactly.
because we hear the Pikachu as the classic Pikachu voice that we've been hearing since 1998.
Yeah.
And I wished we would have had that for some of the other Pokemon too.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only one that had it because I was looking through the credits and wasn't able to pay super close attention to them. It's possible that I missed something when there's that Jigglypuff in the coffee bar singing for a little bit. I think that is the original Jigglypuff
That's
actress.
awesome.
I don't know if any of the other like the dub voice actors we would know. I don't know if any of the other ones got into this movie. I might spot it again if I just watch it
Who
again,
knows?
but
Yeah.
yeah, I would have liked to have seen that or heard that, really.
So I'm gonna start speeding through some of this stuff. The
Yes.
Bulbasaur
We
leads
still gotta get to
them
this parade.
to Mewtwo, which is the one that is gonna heal Pikachu, and that's when Tim was like, "Whoa, what the hell is happening here?" But at that moment is also when Roger, is that his name?
Yeah.
Roger. When he shows up and he captures Mewtwo for a third time. That's kind of when the band splits up and they all go their separate ways. Pikachu, however, is on his lonesome. He is walking
Mhm.
and he comes across the bridge that the accident happened
Mhm.
on, and I think is it him who discovers that there might be something else going on
I
there?
think so.
Let's see. Let's read through all of this stuff. Mewtwo attempts to reveal blah blah blah. Pikachu comes
he
across
just
the area where Harry
he
crashed the car.
discovers a clue and he
Yes,
starts to figure things out and who the real culprit is.
exactly. And turns out the real culprit is actually Roger. It is not. Or
Howard.
yeah. Sorry, I completely screwed that one up
Roger's
again.
the bratty kid. By kid I mean like, 38-year-old man.
Yes.
And Howard is a sweet, calm old Bill Nighy, whose ultimate plan with this parade that has been mentioned throughout the movie, everything's like, oh, the town's gonna have a big celebratory parade with all these Pokemon balloons.
He loves Pokemon so much that he's basically wanting to use Mewtwo to turn everyone into Pokemon. Is
Yeah, I
basically what his
forget how
thing was.
exactly how all the logistics of it line up, but basically, yes, he mind melds with Mewtwo. The
Yes,
Mewtwo is him. It's a Mewtwo floating around that sounds like Bill Nighy, which I didn't know I always really wanted.
yes.
It's great.
um, so that is his evil plan. It turns out it actually is the unsuspecting old man who's on his way out who seems like a nice guy. He is in
Yeah, the
fact
son may be kind
not
of a
doing
jerk, but he is innocent.
oblivious. Yeah.
Yeah.
On a lot of the things. He's oblivious. But yeah, so he's trying to enact his plan by filling a bunch of these parade balloons. They're having a Pokemon, I guess it must be like a Pokemon Day or
Yeah.
something. And they're having a parade, and instead of filling all these balloons up with something like helium, he's filling them up with R, this
R.
purple gas. And once he releases the gas, all of these people will go crazy, and in that state, that is how Mewtwo is able to meld Pokemon and their companions together so that they will be
Yes.
Pokemon.
I did not see that part coming at all. What
That
a
is the one that I
fun,
didn't see.
wild
I was like,
twist.
oh, that's really neat. I like that. Um, and yeah, there's the whole like twist with the Ditto, that the Ditto has been impersonating other
Yes.
people, doing stuff, and
I loved when that lady takes the sunglasses off, because like
yeah,
there's something up about her, but it wasn't
she's
until
just
she
weird.
takes the
Yeah,
glasses off and she just has these
two black dots
black
as
dot eyes
eyes.
that you're like, oh, that's a Ditto, and
Yeah,
she can be anybody. But as she transforms, she always has those black dot Ditto eyes. And you think back to the guy at the beginning, who you see like Ditto morphs into a man and helps push the wheelchair away. You see him from the back. You don't see his eyes.
yeah,
I love that. And that was such a fun twist. And it's so eerie. She pulls the glasses off and it's just two
yeah.
big black dots.
It's
It's
freaky.
it's spooky looking. I loved it.
Yeah. Um. So eventually, Pikachu figures it out. Tim figures it out. Lucy all figures it out. They all figure it out
They're all very smart.
kind of independently in different ways. They
Mhm.
each get one, like they each get their own final clue that puts everything together, and they're like, oh my goodness. And so they all eventually save the day. There is a battle between Pikachu and the mind melded Mewtwo.
Yeah.
And that's a really neat thing to see. We got to see the cop come back, and I forget the name of his
He is a
Pokemon.
snubble.
Snubble, yeah. He gets turned into his Snubble for a little bit. Detective Snubble. um, but yeah. So then after they figure things out, after they save the day, the kind of I don't even know what to call it. The come down, the cool off of the film.
Yeah, the denouement, the wrap up, the coda.
Sure, the wrap up is a good one. In that, they kind of learn not learn, but they're like, all right, well, we solved that mystery, we stopped that from happening, but there's still Detective Pikachu, and that's when Mewtwo kind of steps in, and he's like, all right, let me show you what actually happened. And yeah, you learn the truth that Pikachu, like, they were turning him in, but also helping him escape at the same time. And I think their plan was to stop all of the stuff that was happening there, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, in the accident, it was not Mewtwo that was hurting them. He was trying to save them.
Yes.
And in the car accident, the only way to save Tim's father was by melding him into the Pikachu, into his partner,
his mind.
Pikachu.
His mind is in Pikachu's body, while Mewtwo took his body away to be healed somewhere. Because I guess Mewtwo has medical knowledge, or knows someone who does.
Well, I mean, he also took him. He took Pikachu or the Bulbasaur's took Pikachu to him to be healed too. So yeah, he has healing powers.
That's right.
Somehow. I guess he can learn more than 4 moves, but yeah. So that's what happened. His body was being healed somewhere else. Meanwhile, his mind was inside Pikachu, but he had amnesia, so he didn't really know that he was a human.
He's
past life. He didn't know he was
been a dad.
Tim's father. Yeah. But that was the one that I saw coming. I was like, I know what's happening here.
I don't think I saw. Well, I saw it fairly early on.
Yeah.
No. Okay. That one, it took me a little bit longer to get. The twist that when he showed up alive and walking around and being Ryan Reynolds, the human man, being Tim's dad, I think I figured out as soon as like you see that hologram thing and you do not see dad, you don't see dad's face. I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I get it. And also, like, once you see the photograph of his mom and you look at the kid and you look at the mom, you're like, okay, Ryan Reynolds could feasibly be the third part of this triangle.
Yeah, they're keeping that hidden for reasons unknown. Suspicious. Yeah, Yeah, so that is the thing. Mewtwo fixes everything,
Thanks,
puts
Mewtwo.
everything back. Yeah, and then the movie kind of ends with Tim about to go back to his rural hometown and work
Hmm.
his insurance job.
Yeah.
But he comes to the realization that, hey, I never got to spend time with my father, and I
Oh.
realize now that he actually did love me. He didn't just
Hmm.
run away. Like, he had good reasons for
Yeah.
doing what he did. I just didn't understand it at the time. So he sees this
Hmm.
as an opportunity to connect with his dad. I mean, it's weird because he connected with Pikachu, who was his dad, but he didn't know it was
Yeah.
his dad.
So
And then
now
now
he
his
knows he
dad is
can connect
his
with
dad.
his
Yeah,
dad.
yeah,
So he's like, well, if it worked on Pikachu, it will work on Ryan Reynolds, the human man.
exactly.
Also, like, I'm watching this movie and like, so Tim's 21 years old or about to turn 21. We know based on that card. Like, how old is Ryan Reynolds? Because like, I would not have expected him to be the dad of a kid that old. We looked it up. He's 42 years old.
Oh, he can, yeah, he can be
Yeah,
a dad. He'd be a young
he
dad,
could be,
but
yeah, he can be a young dad, and I think they do a good job of like kind
I
of
that
aging him up. Like he looks a little gray and scruffy when he shows up at the end.
yeah, and I feel like that would be a good reason for his character to go put
Yeah.
himself into that work of just like,
Hmm.
holy crap, I'm really young, I'm married, I have a
Yeah.
kid. Well, did it was what was his father's name?
Harry.
Harry Goodman. Was Harry's character 42, or was Ryan Reynolds 42?
Ryan Reynolds, the
Okay,
man, is 42.
so I take that back. Then I feel like his character is older.
Yeah, like I said, they gray him up a little bit. Like he
Yeah.
plays
Okay.
older than
Okay.
he
Yeah. Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
but I'm like, is I've seen him in other things. How old is he for real? 42.
Yeah. Okay. So that's basically how the movie ends. He decides to
And
stay with his dad,
yeah,
and they,
gonna get a job in the city,
yeah,
just the two of them and a Pikachu.
mm-hmm,
Mhm.
2.5 men. um,
And then the and he like makes a date with Lucy too.
yes, yeah,
Not to
he
write
does
her
that.
off. She's really fun. I like
She
that she
is
is like so plucky and enthusiastic and very capable. You know, her only flaw is that she's so enthusiastic she misses things. Like, I've got bolt cutters, I can cut through the fence. It's like,
she
yeah, there's a
finally gets her
camera over
story.
there. Yeah. She gets to be the big shot reporter she always wanted to be.
Exactly.
Mm.
Um, so now that we've wrapped up all that stuff, what kind of final things do you want to talk
Uh
about or mention that aren't
I do want
necessarily
to
plot
mention
stuff?
I loved the end credits because it
Yeah.
is these Pokemon style, like character design illustrations of the
Of the
actors in
act,
the
yeah, it's
film.
great.
They're
Or of
so
the
cool
manga
looking.
style, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I thought that
exactly.
was a really neat touch. I don't know if I've seen another like live action movie based on an animated thing do that in its end credits. They were very delightful.
I don't know. Yeah, it was good. I
You know,
liked
it's
the
not like
end
you see the
credits
Flintstones
as well.
movie and then there's a drawing of John Goodman looking like a Flintstone.
No,
As much fun as that would
God, I
be.
forgot about that film. I don't know if I wanted to be reminded of that film. Um,
I apologize.
so I guess the two thing or three things I want to say about this film.
Yes.
It's a very simple
It
film.
is.
Again, it is
Like we had a little
targeted
trouble.
towards children,
Yeah. You know,
but
we kind of lost a couple plot threads trying to recap it, but this is because, you know, that we saw it like a week ago. Normally we
yeah,
recap these much sooner. We're much fresher. It is like like it's just complex enough to be a little challenging, but it's still like a great entry level mystery for a kid.
yep, exactly. Um, but I think where this movie really shines is the emotional story behind it.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can find plot holes and all of this stuff, and be like,
Hmm.
okay,
Hmm.
that was a really simple mystery. It was predictable, or it was this, or it was
Yeah.
that. But I think at the heart of it, it is learning to connect with your parent or with
Mhm.
a Pokemon partner. There is this emotional story about
Yeah.
friendship and the relationships you have, which is at the
Which
heart what Pokemon is about.
yeah, it's about like building trust and companionship and
Mhm.
relying on each other.
Exactly. You teach me and I'll teach you Pokemon. Which when Detective Pikachu is like
Yes.
crying and singing that song as he's walking up on the bridge, hilarious. It was
It's
so
so
good.
good. Oh, I also want to say I did see this.
It would be the very best.
It's
Like no
great.
one ever was. Ba, ba, ba.
We I saw this with another friend of mine who's around the same age. She's a
Mhm.
couple years younger. There were other people about our age in the movie theater, but it was mostly kids. The kids were so excited and they clapped so much at like the end of the movie. It
Yeah,
was
that's
really
good.
cute.
That's great. That's great. But yeah, so I just want to say that I think it's the emotional end of this story that worked really
Yes.
well. It has a lot of heart. Um, thing number two, I now forget what all three of my things were.
Mhm.
Thing number two, I know was the music.
The music
I
was really nice.
I don't know if I really thought it was actually. I was kind of so in the trailer they had the holding out for a hero
Mhm.
song. I guess because of my expectations of this being a bit more adventurous and less of an actual
Okay.
noir, like a noir crime detective story thing, I was expecting that song in there. I didn't really, I don't think I heard the Holding Out for a
No.
Hero song. I didn't really hear the Pokemon theme song as an orchestral thing in the back. Maybe I
That'd
missed
be
it.
nice.
I don't know. I felt like the music could have been better, but then again, I don't feel like detective noir stories are really known for the music that's involved
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, except for
So
like the weird music in the third man, but that's different.
sure,
I like the music. It stood out to me as just being like
I
fun,
think it worked fine.
upbeat, not like reminiscent of like the shows and the games, but not like a direct carbon copy. It worked for me. I thought it was nice.
Like I was expecting to hear more music from the games. Like each town has their own song and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I don't remember if Rhyme City or not has been in the games.
Did you
I don't remember, but
did you see there was a video that came out like around the time I think the first trailer for Detective Pikachu came out and they're playing Happy Together by the Turtles?
I don't think so.
I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. And the
Maybe I
video is
did.
saying, okay, they're playing this song. This has a really similar melody to like this Pokemon battle theme from the game. And he played them right next to each other. And he's
Interesting.
like, look how crazy good these match up with each other.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I have not seen that one.
It's a neat video.
Yeah, so that, I mean, that was just one of the things that I felt like
Mm
didn't necessarily stand out, but was not
hmm.
bad either. Um, it was just like the two times I heard the Pokemon theme was at the end credits and when Pokemon or when yeah, god damn it, I did it again when Pikachu is singing it as a
Mm hmm.
joke, as this like meta joke that song exists. I wonder if Ash exists in that universe as a cartoon character.
Oh, that'd be
Interesting. So
fun.
that is kind of my third thing that I want to talk about, all the Easter eggs and maybe what
Yeah.
this sets up. So obviously we mentioned that Ash could potentially be out there.
Mm.
We don't know exactly. We didn't. I saw. I think I saw mention of Oak. There was a
Oh,
sign on a
yeah.
big building that said Oak.
Yes.
So I figured that was uh, Gary Oak, or his company, or his son's company, or something
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, I'm wondering who from the games we might see. I know you want to see Team Rocket, which I feel like could
Yes.
very well be
They're
Detective
such
Pikachu 2.
they're such fun villains. They're fan
What
favorites.
if so my theory is this. in
Mm.
Detective Pikachu 2, we will see
A
uh
truly electric boogaloo.
yeah, you're not wrong. uh, so I feel like, what if Team Rocket kind of is the people in the Clifford Enterprise, the like rebellious ones that wanted to support him and
Mm?
like get a hold of this chemical and all that stuff, and be like, no, he was on to something. We want to not necessarily do what he did, but use Pokemon to take over the world. Obviously, this city isn't truly working like it is. If this happened, maybe we can take some of his teachings, or and maybe it's more of a cult like
Yeah.
thing, rather than like, we're Team Rocket, we're kind of a corporation, but we did not really. It's a weird thing,
Mm.
right? But yeah, what if they have this belief of like, hey, this city isn't working out like we were told it was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to. We are now the disgruntled people living in this city. We want to get our hands on the remaining chemical R. We're going to name our organization after it. We don't actually know what it
Yeah.
stands for. We're just going to name it after Rocket. I don't know, Rocket Raccoon, because we all like Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, yeah.
Who knows? That's not exactly how I think it's going to be, but that's
Okay.
my idea. Somehow Team Rocket is going to pick up the slack, and they're going to be who they have to take down in the sequel.
Speaking of Rocket Raccoon, he reminds me a lot of what I would like a live action Meowth to be like.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Team Rocket. As like a criminal organization as a whole, yeah, they're all about like steal Pokemon, use them to like build up our army to fight people, whatever.
Sure.
Team Rocket, the unit, Jesse, James, and Meowth are so like they steal Pokemon because that's their job. That's what I loved about them is
Mm-hmm.
that they just that's their job. That's what they have to do. They're not real they are villains in
Yeah.
aesthetic and style.
They are the
They're not
grunts.
really malicious.
They
Yes.
are the henchmen.
Yeah, yeah. They live this grunt life because it kind of lets them do whatever they want,
Grunt
but then they're
life.
also at the mercy they're also at the mercy of their boss where they're like, "Well, I hope he pays us so that we can eat."
Exactly.
I loved that position they were in where they were so free and so trapped at the same time.
Which I
And
feel
oh,
that would
if
be a great fit for what's
yeah,
happening in
yeah.
this
And you
stuff.
could have the larger Team Rocket being a little bit more malicious as long as like that team keeps that like
More
the three of us are so closely sincerely bonded to each other.
and just ridiculous and slapstick and just
God, just like all the costumes, all the hair.
yeah, it would be great.
God, all the disguises. Just like throw on a hat and a mustache. And then Harry's like, I don't know who this is. This is an entirely new person.
Yeah.
And Tim's like, Dad, that's him again. He put on glasses.
That would be really funny. Yeah, I can see something like that. I can see them. I can even see him potentially like, hey, I've now spent some time with my dad. I've been training to be a detective, but I'm gonna go be my own man in a new
Hmm.
city. I'm gonna go to Cerulean. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
to somewhere else, and
Hmm.
there's a mystery to be solved somewhere else, right? Maybe they go deal with the whole, hey, this psychic Pokemon gym badge later, something's
Yes.
up with
Oh,
her.
yeah. Go
What's
meet
going on there?
Sabrina. Go to Lavender Town.
Yeah,
All of it. Go on the
yeah,
SSN.
yeah. What if it's a closed door mystery on the
I
SSN?
love this.
Wouldn't
I
that be
need
sweet?
this. Yes.
That would be awesome. I would like to see more Pokemon. I think they did a good job of
Hmm.
including a lot of them. Ones that you would see
Yeah.
and ones that I didn't know all of their names. I was like, okay, that's a Pokemon. I don't know what that one is though, but
Yeah, I
sure.
also have to confess, I don't know into the later generations
Neither
after I
do
did
I.
give up on watching the show anymore because
Yeah,
I am an adult.
but yeah, to
I'm gonna go
see
back and
more.
rewatch the episodes I loved as kids, but I'm not gonna watch the new ones.
Mm-hmm. I want to see more. Want to see more that took center stage in some of the shows.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah, just go to a different region.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought this was good. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, I
can't wait for
really
more.
enjoyed myself. Yes.
They have to do a sequel to
Oh,
this. There has to be.
yes.
Give me Team Rocket. Give me
Bring
Team
me my
Rocket.
rockets. This is all I've ever wanted.
Exactly. Anything else that you kind of
No,
want to say?
I think I'm about ready to
Call it
say
a night.
goodnight, blast off again, close this out.
There you go. Cool. We already did all our housekeeping stuff. So, Melissa, where can the people on the magical interwebs, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. Talk to me about my favorite old Pokemon episodes. I have a lot of feelings about them.
Yes.
Still.
Exactly. I am at Yo Kyle Springer on both Twitter and Instagram. If you want to stay up to date with this show, we are at the Whatnauts on Twitter. That's where you can get updates for all of our podcasts. We have multiple podcasts. Go check out our website, thewhatnauts.com, for more information. And if you guys liked this show, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/thewhatnauts. For a single $1 a month, you can get episodes early. At our $3 tier, you can get exclusive content. And at our $5 tier, we forgot to do that on a couple recent
we got us
episodes.
some $5 buddies.
Yeah, we got some people that we need to thank. If you too are at the $5 tier, we will shout out your name on the podcast. We want to give a big thank you to Sam and Christine for supporting us, for keeping the mics on, and helping us make all of this awesome content for you guys. Yeah. And I guess with that, Team Rocket is blasting off again. We will see you guys next time. Exactly. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out that episode on Detective Pikachu. We hope you enjoyed it. If you've made it this far, it doesn't take a detective to know what comes next. Go like and subscribe to our channel. That would be super helpful. And maybe go check out one of our other videos right down here. We would absolutely love it. And yeah, go like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Thank you.